All right, we're back. We are COMP1006 in the winter 2017 semester, and it's week 8, part 2 of our broadcast here at Georgian. It's Intro to Web Programming, and although it's called Intro, I do think it's pretty crazy stuff. Let's try and take a look at what I've done. I've dragged and dropped a couple of files onto Slack. So on our Slack channel, I've dragged and dropped a couple of files. One, login.php. The other one is a register.php. They're not complete. In fact, they come from a Node.js application that I wrote. Hold on a second. But the funny thing is, they'll probably work, right? And because those less than % sign that I want to show you them, right? So I've got a couple of these files, and they're not really PHP files, but I'm going to make them into PHP files in a second. Now, one thing is, I want to include them in my application. And if you notice here, I've got my little app. Can I drag and drop my stuff into my app? Can I do one of these? Can I do, oh, hello. And it says, I'm going to move my file. I want to do that right now. So it's going to go into my, it says, do you want to add this to the file to Git? Yes, I do. And I'm going to do the other one as well. Move out there for a second. And so that you can see that I'm doing that. I'm just going to put it up in my application. Now, this is not the place where they should be, right? My login and register pages, when I create them, should be in a user's folder, right? A user's directory. Because they're only the views for the users. They're not the views for game. And it's better for us to organize ourselves like this, right? So let's do that. Let's create a new folder structure, right? So again, as a new directory, which we're going to call users. You can also, some people call it admin. All right, that's fine too, right? We want to pass these two files into the users folder. Okay, here's my register, login and register. We're going to have these. They're not quite ready yet, though. For example, in our login file, if I double click, you can see that I got less than %. And then I got an include. The idea here is beautiful. What it says is, hey, I don't want to duplicate my navbar over and over again. And so I want to have my header for my file automatically included for me. But you can do the same thing with PHP. So bear with me while I say this. So imagine if I'm going to have the same header, the same style sheet, every PHP page that I make, right? Well, just like I do here with my other pages, if I click on game details, at the top, notice I have an include once, right? What this does is it injects that code right in here, right? Well, I can do the same thing with other PHP code, right? An example of this would be, and this is something that we can do now before we move on, right, is this part here, right? Here's a bunch of stuff, my doc type, my style sheets, all this stuff here, right? And I got to be really careful here. Can I inject this code everywhere? Well, the answer is yes and no. Right, here's why yes and no. Yes, I can inject it. No, it would be a bad idea because of this. Right, because he see this part would be different, right? If I did it for game, it would be one. There'd be one kind of header for game, almost like the game header, if you will. And there'd be another one for users because well, actually, they would be okay if I put it inside another file. As long as everything pointed to another file, for example, a partials file. Right? If everything pointed to the partials file, it wouldn't matter where it's coming from. Okay? Let me specify. The page title we can inject.
Yeah, but to change it.
We can inject the page title. The page title would be a variable that we would inject at the top of the page. Right? So this would be injectable. Right? So up until my body tag here, I can include all of this, including the doc type, in its own file, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because this is just a piece. This is just a part of the file, right? and I can include whatever part of the file that I want, right? Okay. And I can include it anywhere I want. Okay, so I can almost do exactly what I'm doing here in my login and my register, where I have an include tag at the top. It's not really written the same way, and an include file at the bottom for my footer. For now, we're not going to do this. To make it simple, right? I'm going to go and grab a typical top and bottom from my index.php, like this stuff. I'm going to duplicate a little bit, grab all this stuff, including the body tag, take this, copy, I'm going to go into my login page, right, and replace this, right? I'm going to do the same thing with my register page, but you can see where it would go, right? This is where my beginning of my page would go. My doc type, all this stuff's going to be the same, just this is going to be different. So this would be register, but you can inject this, like I said, right? And this would be login. I got to do my footer in a second, so give me a second here. This is my login page. Oops, undo. Okay, so login and register are done. Now my footer. My footer looks like this. This is my footer, right? I have my script tag, and one thing that's missing, I definitely need a body tag, and I wonder if I'm missing that from even my index.php page. Am I? Huh. I am. That's weird. How the hell did I not put that body tag in there? Anyways, it goes here. Right? Oh, wait. Sorry, it was there. I just missed it. It's there. Okay, let's take this, copy it, and of course it's there. And we go here in my register page and go to the bottom and replace this footer part with this, just to make it easy. Same thing with my login. This will fix that problem. This is the first thing I'm doing. I'm just showing you where I'm getting everything, so you're not surprised, right? And I'm getting the exact same thing now. Is this correct? No, because there should be an extra dot. So it's going to be dot, dot, one up and then two down, right? So this is going to be dot. I probably should have got it from the other files, but it's okay. Once I've got this done the first time, it's over. All right. So now that I've got my header and my footer, doc type, title, all that kind of stuff, I've got my 2 pages, but I got some other weird code in here as well, like this one, right? What I really want to do here is I want to inject a message length in here, right? I want to inject a message length, and I don't have a message length right now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the message length to 0, right? So up here in my PHP tag on top of my my login or my register page, I'm going to set up PHP. And inside my PHP tag, I'm going to set the $message, right? And notice that my messages is an array, right? How do I do an array in PHP? You know? Huh? Square brackets, but how do I set an array? My messages array. Can I just do this? Like we do in JavaScript? Is that enough? I like your thinking. Say that again?
I don't know, put the square braces right now.
Well, let's not guess. Let's go and check it out, right? So we're going to go to W3 Schools. Guys, you have all the answers here, right? W3 Schools. And if I go to PHP, right? And if I look at arrays, here they are. And you can see what it looks like. It's an array. It could be. So here's one way. Here's an array, right? An example. What is an array? It talks about this. I can use the array function to create the array. I have to use that. So I could do this. What if I want to make an empty array? How do I make it empty? Right, Volvo. And there's different arrays for different cars. Here's associative arrays. Doesn't this look familiar to you? Right? And you know what? Maybe I want to make it an associative array, right? So my message, I want my message to be 0, right? A message array. So for now, let's do that. Let's just say my messages array, right? So again, if I was to do something like messages, I want to make a message, an associative array. If I want to make this equal to this, am I allowed to do that? Like this? Hold on. Let's just make it like this for now. We'll change it later. Okay, message is equal to 0. All right, now I don't care about the message length. For now, if messages is not equal to null, right? And we're not testing for this. We're testing if messages $. And we don't want to use these percent less. We're converting, right? We want to use PHP, right? This is all in as an if statement, right? So we can kind of do one of these, and then inside the stuff in here, we can, oh, well, we can't do this because what we want to do is we want to say, well, this is if messages, we want to make an if statement. How do we do an if statement with more than one line in it with PHP and a conditional statement? Sorry? If and end if, right? So it wouldn't be here, it'd be if, right? And then we put a colon instead of a thing here. And then at the end, just put it down here like this. And we'll say, sorry, undo. Apologize for all these little things. Like it gives you a lot of little things here. So if, and we'll just at the bottom here, we'll just end it off with a PHP and if. Okay, so there's your if statement. We want to do in here, we want to inject the messages in here. So we're going to say message is whatever the message is with a capital M. Come on, Tom. That's just with a lowercase m. I know I'm killing it right now. I know it's just driving me nuts. So where we do PHP, and then we're going to echo our messages, whatever the messages are. That's equivalent to what it would be like, right? If message is not equal to null, right? So if messages is not equal to empty string, then we can do a message. Make sense? So why are we doing this? Because I want to put a little message up on the top that says, hey, you already registered this user. You can't register like this again. Or, you know, the username is or the password is too long or too short or whatever. I want to take the same script here, right? Same exact script, copy it, and it's going to be in the same one in my login. My login and register both have messages that I'm going to send to them, right? Let's go to my login page for a second, and I'll push this up in a second so you guys can have it. It's the same thing, right? The only thing is that message has to be defined up on the top, which I would define up here for now. We're going to take this later on. It's going to come from somewhere else. So register. My register page is always going to have no messages for now. I just wanted to air it out. Okay, so this is it right now. My login and my register page. Let's make sure there's nothing else in here that's no good. Yeah.
Can we use if messages dash the other length is more than 0?
If the
Messages object, take the length from the object is more than 0.
you can do that too. Okay, but here's the problem. I'm going to register. So if I'm logging in, I want to register. My href path is wrong. I want to go to register.php. It's going to be on the same level, right? So I'm just going to go to register.php. That's going to be the path, right? That's got to change in my login. This is just going to give me a little link. So if I haven't logged in yet, it's going to register. And then in my register.php, there's going to be a form. Here's the post method, right? and I want to do something with it. When I register, I want to go to, kind of do the registration. Like this is just the page to show the registration, but I want to be able to do my registration, right? So my method is post, and what I want to do is my action has got to be to go somewhere. For example, right now we're not going to go anywhere. Okay, I just want to show my pages for now. All right. I'm just testing so I can see, do I have my pages in place? Do they look like register and login pages? Okay. And then I'll put this up on GitHub and you can grab them if you want. Okay. So I need those pages because without login and register pages, I can't do the login and registration. Like this just required views that I need, right? Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to save all, and I'm going to put this up on GitHub. So I'm going to say git add dot git commit -m, and I'll say added login and register pages. Hit push origin master, and it's going to push it up to GitHub. And there you go. All right, so now let's check this out and see if it works, right? So refresh, we're still good. And now I should be able to go into my login page, but it's going to be under users login.php. Right, and this is what it would look like. Okay? Make sense? And if I hit the register page, if I click register, it should take me to my users register page. So notice it says email, username, password, and display name. I can probably get rid of email for now because I don't need it. I'm not asking for email. I'm asking for username, password, and display name. Okay? Let's fix that. So username, I can get rid of this field set right here for email. Right? Oops. Undo. Save. Now, the important thing is the name label here, right? Remember, I'm passing in stuff from my username, my password, and my display name. Those three name labels are going to be passed in when I do a post, whatever page I'm posting to receive those three pieces of data, right? When I enter my data in, when I register my user, I need to receive them that way. So I'm going to use a super global variable to receive them, right? And I'm probably going to do it in a post because the method should be post when I'm sending things off, right? My action, now what if, putting it out there, what if I was to post to myself? Can I do that? Yeah, and if I post to myself, what that actually does to the actual same page, I can just post to myself, right? And that means I would post to my register.php page. If I was to do that at the top of my page, I would check to see if the super global variables have been set. If they've been set, then I can do something, right? And I want to check if my username, password, and all those things, one of them has to be at least set. Username has to be set. If username's not set, then who cares, right? So if I was to do that, then my action for this one would be, yes?
Would you do that so that is the reason? Because if you don't fill something out or something wrong that it's already on that page, you can say,
I can send a message, right? That's why I can send a message right to the page right away, right? The message variable, I can put it in there and say, hey, you forgot to enter this and whatever, right? Register.php. So now I'm actually sending it back to itself. That means I got to check it up here. I got to see if my super global variables is set, right? So I can say something like this. I can say, well, if, and I go on is set, and I can check for which one is set, underscore my post, right? And if the post that's been sent is my username, right? If it's set, then do the registration. Do the registration, right? Otherwise, if it's not set, do everything else. So take this messages here and put it over here. So I'm actually posting it to itself. Let's see if this works. I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing the registration yet. I'm just testing it, right, to see if it works, right? And it's important for us to understand how to do this because we're building up our authentication, and I don't want you guys to not understand what's happening. Okay, so here's my username. So I'll say my username is, we'll use the same one, Thomas, and my password, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have no limits right now. And here's my last name, if I can spell it properly today. And if I click submit, it's going to post to itself, and it says met undefined variable messages in C users Tom blah 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 blah. Why? Because I set my username, and the reason why I'm getting that is in here I'm not assigning messages. So let's do this. Let's say set a message for now. So my messages is going to be equal to, we're going to say, I'm going to set up a message so I can say registered, right? With my registered message. Should appear, right? Let's try this again. So save, go back here, refresh, continue. See how they came up in a little flash message, right? Because I've already been here before. So go back, click on register, go here, Thomas, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and my display name, and submit, and it should say registered, right? Because that's how it's actually detecting that the username has been set. This is a great way of doing stuff because when I register, right, it's automatically going to generate the fact that, you know, I'm here, right? Now, if I can do this with my registration page, I can do this with my password page, right? I can actually post to itself somehow, right? So I can go back to itself to the top of the page. When it hits the page, it's going to check to see if my user's been logged in. If my user's logged in, and if I go to my login page, it should just redirect me. Right? That's what it should do, right? If my user's not logged in, then it should let him log in, right? So I can check to see if my user has been set, and if it has, then I can log in, right? Now this is just based on what these little factors here, right? But let me go back to my login page. So they look okay. These pages are working okay. Login.php. Login.php does this, and the way it should work is when I log in, it's going to check to see that if I've put in the correct information. It's going to try and connect to my page. Now this is a little trickier, okay? And I'll tell you why. I want to come back to this page somehow, right? I want to come back to this page, and I want to send my messages in a super global variable that I'm going to get, right? And the reason for that is because maybe I'm going to be on another page, like, for example, a page that I'm not logged into. I'm not logged in, but somehow I type in the name of the page that I want to get to, and I want to be bounced back to login, right? So I need another thing to process my login page, another page on its own. I could process it myself here on this page, but it's far better if I have a separate page. Okay, for now, let's stop here, right? I'm going to take it to B230 for those people who can go. For those people who can't go, I'm going to record the rest of this so you see the whole registration and login process, okay? But I'm going to march over now.